All right, so you're going to go to, if you haven't already created a copy of the Google spreadsheet for your period, you're going to want to make a copy of this. So highlight, copy, oops, I missed the dark part, but whatever. And then, or you can just make a copy this way, make a copy this way. Because you don't want to be editing it for everyone else. So the first thing you want to do is find the average rate. You're going to let the computer do it for you. So you're going to go to equals, start typing in average, and it should come up as average. And then it will want you to highlight the data that you want to find the average for. So you're going to highlight the rate for all 6 groups, press enter, and then that fills it in for you. You don't know if the suggested autofill is correct, so I'm going to ignore that for now, and then I'll show you how to do the rest. You should be able to just copy and paste, and it should find the average for all of the other ones automatically. Everyone got that? So you go to the average rate column, you press equals, the equal sign, then you start typing in the word average, and it'll pop up and choose the one that says average. And then highlight the columns, or yeah, this column with the rows, those 6 rows, which are your 6 groups. Then you can just copy that cell and paste it into all the other average columns, or if you want to repeat it, you can. You can just keep putting equals average, and then it will find the average. You have different averages. Shouldn't, because it's for the group. Did you highlight too much, like the 7 up here by accident? Yeah, but the average is the sum of all of them divided by 6, because there's 6 groups. Did everyone else get 0.727?
I did for the first one.
Oh, so maybe it didn't do it right? I mean, it seems correct. I can do it again, but...
Yeah, I got that.
You got that? Is that changing it? That good, Anna?
Yeah.
All right, so standard deviation, same thing. You don't have to find it yourself. You just put equals. Start typing in the word standard deviation, and it'll pop up. It's STDEV, and then it says standard deviation. So you choose standard deviation, and then again, you highlight the 6 groups, press enter, and that should find the standard deviation for you. You're going to keep copying and pasting that, or again, you can do it over and over again if you would like to find the standard deviation. And then the standard deviation should just be 0 for the other one. Did I do this in the wrong spot? Okay, then the standard error of mean, SEM, is you press the equal button, you click on your standard deviation, then you click the slash for dividing. And the standard error of the mean is the standard deviation divided by the square root of the number of groups. So it's the square root of 6, which is 2.66. and then you press enter. So that's what you're going to use for your error bars. And again, you should be able to copy and paste this, and it should find it for each one. And then again, the last one, since all our rates are 0, it'll be 0. Okay. Then, since we need to do error bars, that is why we have to set up this weird matrix here, where we have the distances from the light on the vertical and horizontal kind of intersecting each other. So this is where you're going to be recording the average that you found for the whole class. So at 7 centimeters, where the 7 and 7 overlap. So in this cell right here, you're going to write the class average rate, which you can just go to the second decimal place. So it should be 0.73. And you keep filling this out, again, wherever the 14 and the 14 overlap. That's where you would put the rate for 14 for the class, which is 0.51 if you round. You just keep going. 21 and 21, where those intersect, you put the class rate, which is 0.24. And just keep going down. Where 28 and 28 intersect, right? If you go like down this way and here, it's this cell. For 28, if you look at the class data, the class average rate right here for 28 centimeters is right here. So 0.05 if we're just doing 2 decimal places. So then we put in 0.05. And for the dark, 0. So everyone's should look exactly like this. Okay, then we want to highlight this whole section and either go up here to insert chart, or you can go down here to explore, and you should be able to add a chart that way too. I'm not seeing it for some reason. So insert chart. It's going to come up as a bar graph, but we want a scatter plot. So we're going to go over here to chart type and change it from column chart to scatter. Okay, so now these are all those data points. They're separate colors because we want a separate error bar for each. So I'm just going to kind of move this a little bit down so I can see all the other data. And now we're going to go to Customize, Series, select each series individually. So let's start with 7, which is blue. We're going to scroll down to where it says error bars and check that off. We're going to change it from % to constant. And how we know which number to enter here is from the data on the chart where it said standard error of the mean for 7 centimeters. So the standard error of the mean for 7 centimeters was 0.18. So we're going to type in 0.18. And then we're done with the blue one. So we're going to scroll back up. And now we're going to choose the next one, 14. We're going to scroll back down, click error bar again. Again, change % to constant. And now we're going to use the standard error of the mean that we've calculated for 14 centimeters, which was 0.0777. So we're going to round to 0.08. So we're going to type in 0.08. Notice that the error bar for the first one is larger than the second, which means that the the rates varied more in 7 centimeters versus the 14 centimeters, the average compared to the class data was more kind of concentrated and more consistent. So we're just going to keep doing that with each color. So we did red, we're going to go to yellow, same thing, scroll down, error bars, change it to constant. This time we're going to look at our data for 21, and it was 0.088, so we're going to round up to 0.09. Keep going to 28, scroll down, change it to constant. We need to look at our data for 28. Our standard error of the mean for 28 was 0.018. So 0.02 if we're rounding up. And then we technically don't have to put anything for the dark because it was 0. So even if you end up doing it, it's not going to end up showing an error bar. So you don't have to show or do it for the dark because you'll see that nothing is going to show up. Okay. So I'm going to move this chart over a little bit because now we're going to have to fill out this data table so that we can add more series to graph a trend line for the class average, but also for the group. So for the class average, we're just going to copy exactly what we wrote in the matrix, but now it's just linear in one column because we do not have to make another set of error bars. We just want a trend line for that set of data. So we're just going to copy down what we wrote in that weird matrix into this column here where it says class average. We're then going to click on our chart and edit it again. We should now be up on setup, and we're going to go to add series. You can click select a data range, and you can either manually type in the data range or you can kind of move it over to the side, and then you're going to highlight starting where it says class average all the way down to the 0, which was the percent rate for the dark, and then you'll press OK. You'll see it now pop up on your actual chart, and it says class average rate of leaf disc rising, and the colors have now overlapped with your original data points. We're going to go to customize, series, select now the teal class average. We're going to scroll down to where it says trend line and click it. We're going to scroll down a little bit more to where it says label, and instead of none, we're going to click use equation. And then we're going to check off show the R squared value, which shows us how linear the relationship is, which in this case was 0.961, which is pretty great. That shows that as the intensity of the light decreased, our rate also decreased. We want to compare this data with our data from our group. So we're going to click back off, and we're now going to just write our rate for our group. So I'm going to use group 1, but whichever group you are, you're going to go to that rate. And I think what will make it easier, one of my students did this in the other class, is they just made these slightly different colors so that you can kind of differentiate between the data. This kind of helps a little bit, I think.
Did you press show R squared?
Yes. Oops, pick a different color. Color haven't I chose yet? So now you're going to do your data. So again, I'm going to use group 1. Group's 1 rate for 7 centimeters was 0.45. Their rate for 14 was 0.75. But whatever yours was, you'll go to your group number and record that down. So I'm going to stop talking in case the numbers are getting you confused if you're not group 1. Give you a minute to catch up, and then I'll show you the next step. All right, next step. Press your 3 circles next to your chart, edit chart. We're going to add another series. So press add series. Go to the little box that says selected data range. And now we are going to add our group rate. So again, you can either type that in or you can highlight all the way from our group to the bottom. You have to include that heading. Then press OK. You'll now see new data points appear in a light blue color. And we want to add data for, is that correct for group 1? Oh, so their rate actually went up. Interesting. Okay. So we're going to go to Customize, Series, click just our group rate now. So in the light blue. We're going to scroll down so we see trend line. Click trend line. Change our label to use the equation. And we're going to show the R-squared value, show how linear it is. So you can see that this group's data was not as linear as the class average, which is why we find class averages, so that we can compare our data with other people's data. Now at this point, this is pretty much set. The only other thing that we need to do is we need to label our axes and we need to create a title. I'm not going to tell you what to label it, but I will show you where you're going to do that. Is under Customize, there's a heading called Chart and Axes Title. It'll automatically go to Chart Title, and you're going to type in what you would like your title to be. So what is this data showing? Is it showing how many cookies Eliana can eat? Is it showing grades? Like, what is it showing? And anything else that you need to edit the name of, you can just select that and then change the name of that. So you should have your vertical and your horizontal axis labeled as well, and then you are all set.